Hey, what's going on everyone? How you guys doing today? Welcome back to the Destiny2 video. And we're getting close to the end of the season, the end of the episode. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the seasonal weapons for this episode. Now that we had a whole episode to play with them, now we're going to rank them. Basically just ranking which ones were the best ones, which ones were the worst ones, and the ones just kind of like in the middle. And we're only looking at the seasonal and also reprise weapons, so we don't really have any dungeon weapons in here. Since the dungeon is technically like a separate thing, it's part of the episode, but also at the same time it's not because you're gonna pay extra for it. So we're just looking at these weapons today. Now for the rankings, the S tier is pretty much the most have weapons, the weapons that you do not want to miss out from this season. The A tier is the pretty good weapons. The weapons are really good, but they're just not quite S tier. B is gonna be our pretty average weapons. They're not amazing, but they're also definitely not bad. They're pretty serviceable, so that's B. C is going to be our below average weapons. They're not terrible, but they're also not great. And C is just the bad weapons this season, the ones that you shouldn't even bother trying to get a good roll for. So let's not waste any more time, let's get started. And first of all, we have the rocket, the Heretic's Fever. And I'll say that this rocket is just pretty average. It's not terrible, but it's also not like a great rocket. I think it gets a couple more points for being a stasis rocket since there's not really that many of them. That came out recently, but the perks on this thing are also nothing to be crazy about really. And it doesn't have perks like bait and switch, which kind of limits the rocket a little bit for its usability in like endgame content. It does have other okay like damage perks like explosive light, which can definitely be very good on some other activities like GMs, but I just don't think it quite gets there. I am torn between putting it on B and A, but I think it goes more towards B than A. So I'm gonna keep it on B, on just being an okay weapon that if you don't have a stasis rocket, maybe it elevates it a little bit and you may actually want to get it. Now next up we're gonna have the auto rifle for the Chroma Rush, and some of you guys may not like this one, but for me the Chroma Rush is just an S tier, bro. It is such a good weapon, and if you guys have not tried the Chroma Rush, you definitely should this season. Not only is it a PvE beast, but even in Crucible, with kinetic tremors, it can actually put in the work. It is crazy just how good this weapon is in both PvP and PvE, and it's probably one of my most used weapons this season. I just love the Chroma Rush. I used to actually love it before it got brought back, but now I love it even more now that it's here with even more useful perks. So the Chroma Rush is 100% S tier for me. There's no contest on that one. Next up we're gonna have the Sniper, the Sovereignty. And now this one, I just don't feel like it's a very useful sniper. The snipers right now, definitely not in the best spots for either PvP or PvE. And this one doesn't really offer really anything great that makes it stand out that much. So I have not seen many people actually use this. And I know I haven't really been paying attention to the sniper at all. So I'm going to put it in C tier. It does have some of those new perks, including Withering Gaze, which I'm actually kind of interested in. Once the artifact changes, I'm going to really have like a super easy debuff with the grenade launchers. And I know I can also roll with Discord, so it's got a couple of niche applications, so that's why I'm putting it at C instead of D. But I also don't think that everyone should be going for this weapon. I don't really think it's a very good weapon. Next we have another one of the returning weapons, the Ignition Code. I think that this one is pretty okay. Just on B tier, I think it's very solid, like a very solid breach loaded grenade launcher. It definitely still has some really good perks, including Slide Shot, which is very good on this weapon as well. But the second perk leaves a little bit to be desired. Like, Slide Shot is amazing, but the second perk usually ends up being just something like Purple or Frenzy, which is not really that great. So half of the grenade launcher is amazing, but the other half not really too much. But I still think it's a fantastic weapon, and a weapon that definitely deserves some respect. So I definitely put it on B, probably above the rocket launcher. Now we have the Red Tape, the Scout Rifle, and this one's a little bit hard because some of me wants to put it on A, some of it wants to put it on B. I feel like it's a very useful weapon, because if you're not using a stasis build, I think it's just a B type weapon. It's okay, it's got some okay perks, but nothing really crazy. But if you do have a stasis build, then this thing can have some amazing synergy, and overall I think it would elevate it more towards A. But I think that if we're just talking about the weapon without taking any builds into account, I think at most it would be a B-type weapon. Next up we have another grenade launcher, which is the Liturgy, a stasis grenade launcher, and it really does feel like it's an upgrade to the ignition code. So it's gonna go in A tier. It can pretty much do the same thing the ignition code can do, which is blind targets, while at the same time reloading itself whenever you slide if you have sideways. But on top of that, it's also a double fire grenade launcher, and it can roll with choke clip. So it has so much utility, and it's probably one of the best weapons this season. I would definitely recommend that you go for a good one of the Liturgy. You are not gonna regret it. Next up, we're gonna have the Reprise shotgun, the sword in your stale, and I feel that this one's gonna sit comfortably between the ignition code and also the stasis scout rifle. It's pretty useful rolls for roll PvP and PvE. Like you could get quick draw opening shot, you could get Discord plus incandescent, you could get heal clip incandescent. So you definitely have some rolls that you can work with the shotgun, but it's not really anything crazy for both either PvP or PvE. It is just pretty average. So I think B is just a fine spot to put this shotgun at. Next, we're gonna have the new seasonal hand cannon, the Etsubie. And this might be another controversial one because I actually didn't end up enjoying this hand cannon as much as everybody else did. I don't really know why, it just kind of felt a little off to me every time that I pretty much used it. And the 120s are not really that great in PvE, they're just too slow. And that's pretty much like the main reason that I was using the hand cannon. I tried it a couple times in PvP, but definitely I wouldn't take it over some of the other 120s that I've been using. But it does have some pretty decent perks, so I think we're gonna put it over here on B. Next after that, we're gonna have something that I do like, which is the Scavenger's Fate, the new Void shotgun, and this thing just straight up S tier. S tier, Scavenger's Fate is S tier. Maybe not for PvE, but it can get destabilizing and repulsor brace, it can get that combo. And for the Crucible, you got closing time plus lone wolf or slide shot on a precision frame, and this thing just snipes people. It is such a good shotgun. I'm sure that if you guys played any Iron Band this week, you've been seeing this thing. It's amazing. Definitely get a good one. It's one of the best weapons just this season. Straight up. Next up, we're gonna have the SMG, the not so bit tier, and I really like this one. I think this one goes in A tier. This was a fantastic weapon, and I think really the thing that carries this weapon is just jolting feedback. If this weapon didn't have jolting feedback, it definitely wouldn't be as good as it is right now. And it's pretty much it. Just jolting feedback is just that strong of a perk that makes just a regular SMG into a fantastic SMG just by putting it on it. That's pretty much how I feel about this SMG. I really feel like if it didn't have jolting feedback, I would have not used it at all, because the rest of the perk pool is not looking that great, to be completely honest with this SMG. So if you have jolting feedback, it's amazing. If you do not, it's not really that amazing. Next, we have the Bittersweet, the grenade launcher, and this one just goes in S tier. It's fantastic grenade launcher, and with it being able to roll bait and switch plus MBS Arsenal, makes this thing just a fantastic just DPS monster. And one thing that I really like about this grenade launcher is that it's not really tied to any like in-game activity or anything like that. You basically just have to go into a seasonal activity and you can get yourself one of the best grenade launchers just in the game. Now we have the Grid Skipper. I feel the Grid Skipper is pretty okay, probably better than the shotgun. It's got some pretty good perks in both PvP, PvE, but nothing like super crazy. Next up we have the insurmountable sidearm, and I'm sorry sidearm fans, I just cannot get down with this sidearm. It's got some okay perks at best, but the sidearms are just not my thing in either PvP, PvE, and I just really don't like the sidearm. I think I haven't really used it that many times, because the first couple of times that I used it, I was just not vibing with it. And so, for me, it is a C weapon. It's not terrible, you know, it's not on D tier, but it's also not great. And the final weapon, because for some reason we have the shotgun again afterwards, and the vantage point pretty much has all the positives of the SMG, plus more because it has the range and the usability of a pulse rifle. Jolting feedback again coming through and making the weapon amazing, but even without jolting feedback, I think this would be pretty great already. But jolting feedback just really pushes it over the edge and makes it into one of the best pulse rifles for PvE, just period. And if you guys have been keeping up on the channel, you guys would know this already because I've used it in so many of my ARC builds. Jolting feedback is just fantastic. Actually, I kind of struggled to put these together. All of these are really good, so I'm just gonna leave it right there. Anyways, any of the S tiers that we put in here are definitely weapons that you should go after, with the Ace definitely being very good weapons as well. The Beast kind of depends, you know, on your preference of weapons. Some of them you really like, some of them maybe you don't. And don't bother with the sidearm or with the sniper in my opinion. But yeah, that's my list. That's my tier list for the seasonal weapons. I know this is not going to be everyone's opinion, so you know, this is just my opinion. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. The seasonal weapons, we have a lot of seasonal weapons you like this season, or do you only like a couple? Let me know that in the comments below. If I had to choose one of these weapons to actually be my favorite, I think it would actually be the pulse rifle. I've used the pulse rifle so much that even though I like all four of these weapons, it is definitely the one that I got the most use of. But definitely tell me in the comments below, what is your favorite weapon from this seasonal weapons? And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, everyone. Have a good rest of the day. Peace.